You know those places you've always wanted to visit, but just haven't gotten around to? Well, this week, we're going to see what's at Chichén Itzá. It was once the largest city in the world, home to over 1 million people at its peak. And today, it's one of the most popular tourist attractions in Mexico. But there are some parts of this ancient city that are off limits to casual visitors. And deep in the jungle, there's a path hidden from modern eyes for nearly 1,000 years, the Blood Road. Explorers beware, because if you enter these forbidden zones, you might never come back. Or if you do, you might not even want to. So grab your passport and get ready for adventure. Here are the terrifying secrets of the Blood Road of Chichén Itzá. Chichén Itzá is an incredible place. The name comes from the Mayan language and means at the mouth of the Well of the Fee. And it's easy to see why this particular place was chosen. Near the city walls is a natural sinkhole called a cenote that fills with rainwater. This meant the ancient people who settled here had access to fresh water in a harsh desert environment. But it also made building a city much easier. Without the need to cut down trees for lumber or dam rivers for drinking water, the natural resources could be dedicated to growing food. It was perfect. The Maya civilization thrived in the Yucatan Peninsula until about 900 AD, when the population mysteriously abandoned their cities and moved away. But centuries later, another civilization arrived. The Toltec people migrated south from their homeland and took over the old Maya metropolis. They built new temples and palaces, created new works of art, and established a new capital. In the 12th century, this city would become known as Chichén Itzá. Today, we think of the Toltec ruler Kukulkan as the most famous person associated with this city. Huge steps were taken during his reign to expand and improve the city. He constructed several buildings, including the magnificent El Castillo, also known as the Temple of Kukulkan. This pyramid was constructed using white limestone, which had to be brought in from miles away. To make things easier, the Toltecs invented a new tool, the roller, which allowed them to move large rocks without damaging them. But they didn't use rollers for building pyramids. Instead, they used these primitive machines to keep their road network smooth. In fact, there were roads connecting every major city in the Yucatan Peninsula. Back then, travel was dangerous, so these roads were sometimes called highways to the underworld. But one road in particular stood out as the most important thoroughfare in the empire. A four-wheel vehicle pulled by oxen could traverse this road from Chichén Itzá to Uxmal in about 2 hours. For comparison, the trip takes 4 hours by car today. And this was in the 13th century. So, how did they do it? The answer may lie in the tools themselves. These stone rollers weren't just used to move stones. They were also used to flatten them. Workers would roll stones across a flat surface until they were almost perfectly round. This made moving them much easier, but it also made them less likely to crack under pressure. In other words, the Toltecs used sophisticated technology to build their own superhighway system. But the secret of how they did has been lost for hundreds of years. In recent times, a team of Mexican archaeologists uncovered a road that dates back to the same time period as the Toltec Empire. Buried under centuries of dirt and debris, the road looked remarkably well preserved. Not only that, but researchers believe this may have been part of the very same system designed by Kukulkan himself. But the discovery, it's even more exciting. The team also found a series of ruts in the road, believed to have been caused by stone rollers moving across the highway. This suggests the workers used rolling stones to move heavy loads, just like the ancient Egyptians. But while the Egyptians built huge ramps and levers to help them drag massive stones, the Toltecs didn't leave any evidence behind. The secret of how they managed to roll such heavy stones still remains. But the road wasn't the only thing that surprised scientists. While surveying the area, they noticed that the road passed through the middle of an ancient quarry. Not only does this prove the road is older than previously thought, but it also suggests the Toltecs built the road themselves. Scientists estimated the road was made between 800 and 1000 AD, long before the Spanish invaded. But the road wasn't finished. Construction ended abruptly after only 364 meters, perhaps due to the fall of the Toltec Empire. Still, that doesn't explain why it was buried in the first place. Researchers believe the builders covered the road to protect it from looters. Even though it was made 800 years ago, this road is still in good condition. And if word got out that there were still stone rollers buried nearby, treasure hunters would have destroyed the road searching for the tools. So it seems the builders took some time to cover up the road before leaving. But the question remains, where does it lead? While excavating the road, scientists found a small piece of pottery with a design dating back to the Maya. The piece was only 300 years old, meaning the road must have been used for quite a long time. But it also suggested the road was probably important to the Maya. Could it lead to a sacred site? Perhaps an ancient burial ground or a temple holding mysterious powers? The truth is, nobody knows. The road was discovered deep in the jungle, surrounded by ruins and thick foliage. Researchers don't know exactly where it leads or what's at the end. What they do know is that the road is real, it's extremely old, and it's probably hiding something important. But unfortunately, no one is allowed to find out. Mexico is home to some of the most incredible ancient ruins in the world. And each year, thousands of tourists visit to experience history for themselves. But sometimes that comes with a price. If you want to explore an archaeological site in Mexico, you'll have to pay a fee. There are several different sites, and each one costs a little bit more. In many ways, this makes sense. Archaeologists and historians work hard to preserve these places for future generations, and they need money to continue their research. But some of these sites are incredibly remote and require a lot of upkeep. That's why visiting the El Tajín ruins will cost you 770 pesos, or about $37. But the cost goes up for Chichén Itzá. To visit this famous ruin, you'll need to bring your wallet. Admission is 1,700 pesos, or roughly $84. Now that may sound expensive, but if you want to tour the entire complex, it's worth every penny. Just make sure you save some money for food and souvenirs. But there's a catch. If you want to see the Blood Road, you'll need to spend even more money. You can book a private tour online, but expect to pay upwards of $1,200 for a single day. Or you can take a risk and sneak into the archaeological site after dark. After all, the ruins are only open for daytime tours. So how could anyone get in after dark? Well, the answer is simple. Just follow the sounds of drums and screams coming from the jungle. Make your way to the ruined temple of Kukulkan and listen for the procession approaching. When you hear the beat of drums echoing around the temple, look up and you might see a ghostly parade winding its way through the moonlight. A group of masked figures carrying torches will march slowly through the shadows, followed by dozens of ghostly priests dragging unwilling captives toward the sacred cenote. As they pass, the prisoners plead for mercy, but their screams are drowned out by the beating of drums. If you try to stop them, you'll find yourself added to the procession. And when the captives are thrown into the darkness of the cenote, you'll be next. So is the Blood Road of Chichén Itzá real, or just a scary story? Some say the ghosts are actually spirits of prisoners being sacrificed to appease the gods. Others say they re souls of explorers who strayed too far from the beaten path and were lost in the jungle. But one thing is certain, you won't want to wander the ruins alone after dark.